session 8, which is about what if thinking, was a complete like turning moment for me with my anxiety. So this week I've really calmed down, and and I think it's a lot to do with the what if. But we have someone who is joining us, so let me get her. Hold on. Okay, we have a therapist joining us. Sorry, my dogs are super excited. But we have a therapist joining us, so hopefully we can get her on. Hi, you guys. Hi. Can we do a house tour? Actually, there is a house tour on Architectural Digest, so check it out if you guys want to see my house. But as we're waiting for her, I have to say, I was just in Malibu. I was shooting a campaign photo shoot for Frenchie products that are coming soon. I'm so excited. And I don't know, there's a moment that I had there because I've been doing this session on what if thinking. And I just was at the looking at the ocean, and I was just like, I need to let go in my life. Like I need to let go of micromanaging. I need to let go just in general of just like kind of holding on to things. And I'm not kidding you, like I was really bad with anxiety like a couple, maybe even 2 weeks ago. And it's amazing that this journey through this book, that sometimes it could be session 4 that people start to feel better. Sometimes it could be session 7 or session was a turning moment recently. And I think it was also just letting go. It talks about anticipatory anxiety. And I was having so much of that because I was having these two big things in my life happen, which was my baby turning 1 and her birthday party that we were planning, and also this huge campaign shoot that I was doing. That meant obviously so much to me and getting it right because I have been working on this product for the last 2 years. So I that have worked, and I want to share that with you. But let me try one more time. Let's see. I don't know why sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. But hi, you guys. Hi.
I'm
Hi.
so happy this worked.
I know, me too, because last time it didn't. How
How
are you?
are you?
I also didn't have a baby shower because of COVID, so I was really going big with my birthday party. And I think there was just like all this anxiety built up, which is like excitement, but also, I don't know, like I just had all this feeling of overwhelm and pressure and these two things happening at the same time. And it was a really big month for me, and I was had a lot of work stuff. And so it was interesting that I finally got through that, and then like my nervous system kind of went back to normal. And like I also was talking about how even the morning of Jupiter's birthday party, I was getting ready and I was feeling always talk about this, but Candy Crush just weirdly distracts my brain and like makes me like focus on something. And it completely calmed me down in that moment.
I think Candy Crush has that impact on many people. I have walked past many folks like, oh, Candy Crush, oh, Candy Crush. So I think it might be an anxiety tool.
I really do think so because it really is like obviously, as a therapist, but also when I talk to my therapist, it's just anything that can distract you from the spiral thinking. Because it's like
Yeah.
once you're like thinking, thinking, thinking. And I think Candy Crush just makes me focus on it. And I'm like kind of like playing this game and it's like you're in it and then you're like succeeding at it and you're like getting super excited. And it was just like it really calmed me down. And recently I've been using it if I'm feeling anything like you know, obviously there's like that PTSD from where you felt panicky. So I have felt panicky in a car. And I was in a car being driven to set for my shoot. And so I was just like, okay, it's okay if you feel anxious because
There is no one strategy for everyone. Like, if you do this, you will completely manage your anxiety. It's like, do different things, figure out what works for you, and it may not be what works for Ashley. It might not be what works for me, but maybe going on a walk works for you. Maybe calling a friend and processing. So really figuring out what your thing is.
yeah, anxious, you got to start getting yourself out there and putting yourself out there to realize that it's okay to have those feelings, but to push yourself through that. And so I feel like that has been a lot of what I've been doing. Like there's so many things that I was anxious about, obviously traveling with the baby and like going to a hotel and we've been quarantined for so long and obviously just, just the whole pandemic of it all. And I finally was just like I said to everybody, I was like I had to just let go. I had to let go because I could feel myself like this to everything in my life. And I was like, that's just not helping me. It's not helping my anxiety. It's not helping me. And I was just like, you know what? It's time.
Call them the freeways because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. So they take the streets everywhere. Or people who are like, I don't take planes, so they prefer to drive, even if it's a really long distance. So really thinking about how the anxiety is impacting your ability to do things in life. Like if you're like, I'm not flying anywhere, and your kids move across the country or your parents move across the country, are you driving 3 days?
In everyday life. I mean, I feel like most of the stuff that I've done in my career, if I knew what it entailed, like I remember thinking when I was doing, I did a Broadway show when I was 8, which is Les Miserables, and I had an idea of probably how, it was like, I was like, oh, we probably are listening to the song as we're singing it, and that's you. If it's like they say it's like the three R's. Is it reasonable, rational, or what's the other one? Um, Hold on, let me go into my book. Realistic, I think. And it's just something that I feel like we should think of what it is that's scaring us and try to get through it. You will get through it. You will have anxiety, but you'll be able to manage those feelings better if like, if you avoid plane rides, like you'll never get to go to places and see such beautiful things. And so it's like, but I feel like, sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming, my anxiety. And that's what I went through recently. And so I knew, okay, let's go back to what's helped me before because, this is obviously just getting a little bit worse for some reason. And I obviously like to kind of go in and see what is exactly bothering me and why I'm so anxious at a certain time. And a lot of it does have to do with stress and overwhelm. What would you say is helpful to, for stress management, I guess?
One of the biggest things that's helpful is not trying to extinguish stress. Stress is a part of life. And the best way to manage it is to practice things on the front end, not in the middle of crisis or when things get really hectic. We typically have an idea of when something does and doesn't feel good. We feel stressed when we commit to the thing that we didn't want to do. We feel stressed when we're like, oh my day is already crazy. I'm gonna add this other thing. So many times we are creating the stress by putting ourselves in situations that we know might heighten our stress. The comment mentioned, well, there's been a lot of things mentioned that I've seen, but one thing mentioned is what is a definition of anxiety? And the only thing I can think of to describe it as, it is a feeling.
Mhm.
Anxiety is a feeling. It is a feeling like being happy, being excited, being sad, being mad. I mean, do we ever say, I will never be happy again? I will never be sad again. Typically, no. Like, we know these feelings will come and go, and it is the same way with anxiety. Now, there are some of us who tend towards, heightened anxiety. And in those situations, it's important to uncover what that feeling is trying to tell you. What is
Mhm.
happening? What should I be worried about? What am I feeling afraid of? Not necessarily like this feeling is here, it's bad, I have to get rid of it. But what is this feeling trying to teach me about this moment? What is this feeling uncovering about me? Not necessarily, again, I need to get rid of this. There is no time where we're like, I'm too happy, I don't want this. That's a feeling, you know. Completely go away. We just want to be able to manage it when it comes up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I feel that we definitely need it and we have it for a reason, but we don't want to walk through the world like there's a bear everywhere. Like that sometimes is when mine is heightened. It's like almost as if that's happening. So it's like you have to, yeah, just like what you were saying, acknowledge the feeling and just know that it's a feeling. I think that when, for me, when it starts to spiral, it's like, what is this feeling? So it goes into these little situations where I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I have this? What if I have that? Why is this feeling? And it's like, stop that what if thinking. It's like, what if you're completely fine? What if this is just a feeling? What if you're just excited? Instead of going to that negative, I think that it's the positive self talk that has helped me stop recently going into the spiral of like the anxiety and getting worse and going into a panic attack. Because it's when I'm in that negative thinking that something really is wrong with me in that moment, then I start to get really ramped up and have a panic attack. So I like that. I love that you said that it's just a feeling, it comes and goes, and that's just like being happy or being sad. But I find that when you accept the anxiety feeling, it
Mm-hmm.
goes away faster versus trying to avoid that feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We like to fight back. right? Instead of allowing things to just be. I'm anxious. How often do we hear people acknowledge that? I mean, we'll see so many other things. I sometimes see, even socially, people trying to warm up by drinking or doing different things because really what they are is anxious. I am anxious to be in this social setting, not know anyone, be expected to acknowledging it and just being like, I don't even know what this is. And it's like you feel anxious. I have heard um I remember a family member, they just had a major surgery and they started to experience some sleep issues. And I said to them, I said, are you afraid that you will die in your sleep? And they said, yes. I said, that is a very real concern after you've had a surgery. You know, like that makes sense that you don't want to go to sleep. Like you're having this sleep issue. You're afraid to go to sleep because you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, what if I won't wake up? And just naming that,
It's not helping you at all. And I think that's like the letting go too. It's like letting go and trusting that everything will be okay. Um, it's like, yeah, you feel like as someone who has anxiety, kind of being in control, like it's like, oh, I'm better when I'm driving. But if someone else is driving me, I'm not so good, you know? And it's like we have to let go of that. And that is something that obviously I've helping anxiety and in those moments.
I think that intentional breathing is really helpful in social settings. In social settings, you don't want to be awkward, like, you don't want to do that in the middle of a dinner party. But just doing maybe like a 4 in, hold for 7, out for 8 in the car before you go in could be really helpful.
Mm.
Acknowledging the anxiety. There are so many workbooks that are helpful for anxiety. One of my favorites to recommend is the anxiety workbook. That is the title of the workbook. You just that's it. That's the workbook. I think there are so many strategies around because remember, a part of the anxiety is trying to help you uncover what is happening. So if you are anxious about seeing a certain friend, why is that? You have 20 friends. Why this one? Why are you upset about this? So, how do you get to the bottom of what's going on in this relationship that's causing anxiety?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
speak to that thing? Because the anxiety typically goes away when we address
years ago. I'd never had a panic attack before then. So of course that gives me a little bit of that PTSD where I'm like, oh, flying, like what if that happens again? But it's so important to keep doing it. And the more you do it, you're like, oh, I felt completely comfortable and I did not have that feeling. And if that feeling arises, I know what I can do. I have the tools. I can do breath work. I can meditate. The biggest thing that has always helped me when I've gotten to that place with panicky feelings is breathing. Like just having a meditation on my phone to where I can like put my earbuds in and just breathe. That has completely stopped me from going into like a really bad panic attack. Um, so it's like it's all within us. Like the breath work is within us. Like we are the safe place where I think most of the time we think that, you know, a safe place is somewhere else or with somebody else or at home. And it's like so interesting because we are actually our safe place because we have all the tools within our body to help us get over those feelings. It's just knowing that and trusting that. But this has been such a great conversation, and I'm so glad it worked. But where can we find you? Like, what's your Instagram handle?
So I am Nedra Tawab on Instagram. I have a website. I have a book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. I have a workbook, the Set Boundaries Workbook. I'm a mental health therapist, and as you know, therapists talk about, I was telling my uncle the other day that anxiety and depression is the cold and flu of therapy, right? Like this is what we talk about all the time. So I love to talk about, of course, the things that we're familiar with and also relationships.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so, so much. And I am definitely going to check out your book because that is something that I still need to work on is setting boundaries. So, thank you for joining me. And yeah, thank you for spending Saturday morning with us.
You're welcome. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.